Did you see they're adding a trans woman character, Squid Game Season 2, and they cast a cis guy to play her? Why is there a Squid Game Season 2? I don't want to like, I don't know, downplay it. It's just that in South Korea, this is still probably pretty progressive for them, right? I'm not trying to do the cultural relativism thing. It's like, you know, I think relatively speaking, it's probably a positive. I don't want to like, I feel like people are going to get mad at me for having any opinion on this. I don't know. I feel like if they wanted to make her a negative depiction of trans, like of a trans woman, they probably, like this to me, I don't know, it speaks to like maybe like a well-intentioned depiction relative within the context of South Korea's cultural conservatism. You know, they didn't choose a cisgender woman, at least. Well, I mean, apparently it's she's joining the competition to fund gender affirming surgery. So I don't know, like, I don't know how much they're going to lean into it. If she's going to be a significant enough character that they're talking about it like this, I don't know. I want to be optimistic. In spite of all the Netflix shenanigans that have taken place since, Squid Game Season 1 genuinely was a good piece of art, which makes me hope that they would continue in that line, I guess, and it would be like an artistically meaningful second season. This is a stupid controversy. It's not really like a controversy. Generally speaking, I think it's a good thing. If you're going to have trans characters, which are quite rare in media, it's nice to provide a platform there and, you know, accurately represent that with a transgender actor or actress, or act them if they're non-binary. I understand that the politics of that kind of inclusion are very different in South Korea, or at least somewhat different. Again, like, it is a very socially conservative country, considering the fact that we like kind of factor, we consider them part of like, not the West, but like the developed world, and is socially in the same league as like America and Western Europe and what have you. That's often what they're grouped in with, kind of like as is the case with like Japan or Australia or whatever, when they're quite socially conservative. So I don't know. She'll probably die tragically. Well, it's Squid Game, so yeah, but hopefully, for the quotes, how do you expect them to find the trans actress who is willing to out herself to get the role, who hasn't done any gender affirming surgery? Who can? Well, stuff like that doesn't necessarily matter, I don't think. I guess it's mostly just about, I don't know. I don't want to overthink it too much, yeah. You do know transness is more accepted than homosexuality in Asia, right? I don't think that's necessarily the case, or I think that's very complicated. Like, I know the Thai or like Philippine ladyboy concept is something that we fold under the umbrella as trans, which I think it is, but for one, Asia has like 50 trillion people in it, so let's not generalize. And for two, my understanding is that in a lot of cases, this acceptance is more in the line of like, we accept you as a third gender that is feminine or woman aligned, but the concept of a trans woman where like gender is a self-ID thing is not necessarily as ubiquitously accepted. You know what I mean? Like, there are people, lots of people in at least Thailand, I know, who would say, oh yeah, ladyboys are a thing that we accept. They're like a vaunted part of our culture. But, you know, obviously gender is still like your birth sex. So, you know, trans woman, you can't be a woman, but like there are ladyboys who look like women. Like I still think it's a trans thing. I'm folding it under my cultural lens of interpretation, but I know that it gets more complicated than that, you know? I think it can be looked back upon fondly if it's done appropriately, Spexman, but I can't really say. I don't know. I want to see some of the counter arguments. Here's a counter argument, sort of. This is why Alice in Borderland is superior. What the fuck is Alice in Borderland? And I don't give a fuck if that cis woman is playing a trans woman character. Wait, what? Wait, it's a cis woman playing a trans character? But that's also not representing a trans actress. This is literally just them saying it's fine because she looks more passing. Well, yeah, I mean, if you're being played by a cis actress, I think, pardon me for, you know, they'll call me a chaser for this one. I think that like part of the normalization of trans people is the normalization of trans people in media who aren't cis passing, and that you have to sort of be able to cultivate sympathy for trans people even if, as is the case with the Squid Game, they're supposed to be like relatively early in transition, or at least hasn't had gender affirming surgery, I guess, or whatever. However you want to line that up, you know. Like, I understand that there's an element of positivity to depicting trans people largely as being like super ultra beautiful or whatever, but I feel like okay, oh man, I feel like this is gonna, I don't want to do like a drama thing, but like, you know how there's this dynamic where, okay, I want to open up with this, okay? Can we open up with this? A lot of people are unattractive. Has nothing to do with being cis or trans. Doesn't even have anything to do with passing or not passing. It's just, you motherfuckers don't see enough sunlight. You're not out there doing your Pilates. Your core muscles are underdeveloped. This is not, it's not even like a physiognomy thing, really. It's just like, you know, being attractive is, in a lot of cases, hard work. You know, and for years now, it has been common for trans positive people, whether they be trans or cis, to depict especially trans women online as hyper beautiful, idealized, ultra feminine anime girls. Like, you'll have trans positive art that depicts trans women as like radiantly beautiful trans girls with like a trans flag colored dress on or something like that. And then invariably, if something like that goes viral, a bunch of chuds will quote tweet it, and then they will post images of the trans woman who posted it, who is, by virtue of being a real human being in this fucked up world that we all live in, not as attractive as that inhumanly, you know, symmetrical, perfect looking trans anime girl. And the problem with this, to me, is not posting beautiful anime trans girls, because who gives a fuck? The problem is, I do worry that oftentimes the battle that people are having about the acceptance of, especially trans women, because as we all know, as a man, your validity is about opening pickle jars, and as a woman, it's about being radiant and beautiful at all times and pretending that you don't poop or fart. It does feel like even in progressive spaces, sometimes the battle over acceptance of trans women comes down to arguing about how pretty they are. And this is like a widespread thing, you know? Like, I see a lot of people get caught in this dynamic, and I think it's fine to play into for like a bit or a joke or for self-affirming reasons, but I worry about how sincerely people feel about it. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I don't know. It's a touchy subject. Well, it's a touchy subject. For one, it's for sure a touchy subject. And for two, I have to be clear, it's a touchy subject in which exactly 0% of my like ire is being directed at trans people here. This is like a broader conversation, and it's honestly more about women than it is trans people, because this insane standard where your like worthwhileness as a person comes down to your attractiveness, largely directed at women, like 99% directed at women here. Let's be real, right? Like, we're not, that's how you know trans men are men too, you know? Because when trans guys are getting like attacked by chuds, it's usually in some like, you know, well, you'll never be a man, whatever. They don't usually call them ugly, because it's like, they're a guy. That's not an attack you can use on them anymore. Trans masculinity is not undermined with accusations of being unattractive, because, you know, again, not to sound woke, but sexism is a thing. Tweets like this really highlight the issue, IMO. I'm not going to show the tweet, but it's a pretty lady who I assume is trans, like based on contextual clues, like the fact that the tweet was linked. And the text of the tweet says, "Roommate said I'm pretending to be a girl. Yeah, tell that to my fucking big naturals, bro." And then she's got her like tits out. I don't think that's bad at all. If I was a trans chick, I would also do that, to be clear. Like, I won't, like, there's literally nothing wrong about that. To me, I guess it's more just there's a difference between leaning into that for a bit or a point and leaning into that as like an actual argument. You get me. You understand. I don't even think what I'm saying is a super hot take. I feel like I'm just walking around it right now because I'm so eminently cancelable. Hello, Artemy. What are you staring at me? You want to rub your face on the side of my PC tower right where the power button is so that you turn it off midstream? Oh, no, you're not going to do that? Oh, you looked like you were going to do that for a second. Can the cat actually do that? He's done it once before. Quote from the actor, even though she faces prejudice and tough situations, she shows incredible strength, decisiveness, and natural leadership. Through her resilience, she breaks down stereotypes and shines as an inspiring character. Can we agree on one thing, considering the fact that, like, the way things are going here in America, politically speaking, this might actually end up being the single most impactful trans representation that we get in media in the near future. A lot of people watch Squid Game, and it's not like coded lefty media, mostly because people can't understand the obvious anti-capitalist message of the show, the really obvious, very transparent, clear message. No. I'm not saying that as a negative thing. I'm saying that, like, I think there's the potential here to humanize her in a way that resonates with people in, you know, a difficult environment. I want to be positive. Is that so wrong? I do think there's a solid chance this will be South Park tier transphobia, though. Yeah, really? Like, if they're going off of the direction from the first season was pretty good. It was socially conscientious. I don't think... Is it like a totally different team for season 2? Same showrunner? Well, what about like the... I think the director is different. What about the writing team? It says the director is the same. Who is making Squid Game season 2? Hwang Dong-hyuk. And your previous work is Squid Game. Yeah, it's the same director. Yay! Yeah, Thana, to be honest, I don't really know. I know South Korea is pretty reactionary when it comes to feminism. I don't really know necessarily how that translates with regard to, like, queer politics. I couldn't really say. Probably worth some research in the future. So, you know.